Good morning. Om
Hello,
Shanti.
good
Om
morning.
Shanti. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Shanti.
Good morning.
Good morning. Om
Om
Shanti.
Shanti. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Good morning.
Shanti. Good morning.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. It's a very happy spring to everyone. Spring is coming up. It's a beautiful time of the year. Spring is a time of this beautiful transition where there is nothing on the trees and then suddenly these beautiful flowers emerge. I was just seeing just this last week, there's one just a little tree outside and it has beautiful pink flowers, and just to see, it's amazing the transition that nature has. And so the thought was today we'll try and explore a similar transition in the consciousness. I think last week we had been discussing about the science of consciousness, and how consciousness actually plays such an important role, such a huge role. Consciousness is at the center, at the core of our existence. Through various scientific studies now, even science is coming to this realization. That the combination of science and spirituality happens through consciousness. And when we become conscious, really conscious of our reality, and we say spiritual consciousness is like the consciousness, that is who we are. We live in the spiritual reality. We are aware of the spiritual reality. And we operate from there. Like everything in the world is the vibration. So consciousness is emanating vibrations all the time. So what the world needs right now is this healing vibrations of spiritual reality. The reality of who we are and the original eternal nature of our being. So today the thought was that we will try and explore like the journey that begins when we first get introduced to the spiritual consciousness. We are interested, we are learning, to then actually being it, what it feels like to be it. And what are the different steps in the journey? So this understanding of the steps, what it does is it allows me to appreciate where I am right now. And it also allows me to understand what is the next step that I need to take. There was someone on the roof of a building, and there was a friend down below on the road, and the friend wanted to come up on the roof. And so this friend was waving, oh, come up, come up. Now this friend was trying to jump, but he couldn't reach because the building was very high. So just he kept on jumping, but he became tired. He said, I cannot make it. But then someone told him, oh, this is the staircase. And take this step and this step and this step. And then sometime you will reach. And then he followed and reached. And so spiritual consciousness is also like that. So it's like this deep shift that we all want to make within. It goes through a process. And what is that process, and how do we understand the process, so that then we can acknowledge where we are right now, and then take the next step and the next step and the next step. So the number 7 just came up. Number 7. It's not just 7, but it's just like a continuous evolution. But these 7 steps are in a broad way that we can put those 7 steps. So let's try and learn more. Are there slides here?
Yes.
Okay. You see the 7 steps of spiritual consciousness. it's like this ladder up, this whole idea of steps, taking steps. And in India, we all the temples everywhere, all the main temples are at a height, on top of a mountain, and we have to follow. We have to take several steps to reach there. And so this, even on a pilgrimage, they say, take steps. So basically, it's symbolic of the soul taking spiritual steps. It's like milestones in order to eventually reach the destination. And the destination is just of basically being who I am, who we are. It's amazing. We are all consciousness. We are all beings of consciousness. We are all metaphysical in this physical world. But then somehow on the journey through many lifetimes, we forgot. And now is the time to really understand and recalibrate ourselves to that reality. So let us go on this journey. So let's try and first understand different levels of consciousness that we see in our world in general. So we'll take a simple example. We'll start with, let's say, a pig, and or it could be any other animal. And they have certain thoughts. They eat a certain kind of food, and they have a certain place to live. And their reality, their consciousness is all in that. So we say there is one level of consciousness. Let's say there is another level of consciousness, which is the consciousness, let's say, that a donkey would have. So a donkey, generally, his world is, and his food is grass. So he would think about grass. Now, a donkey wouldn't be interested in the same thing what a pig may be interested in, because a donkey is a different animal. Its consciousness is different. So when a donkey sees the grass, the donkey would feel that I want to eat it. That would be the thought in the mind. So now if we look into the human, so a human would not be attracted to a grass just like a donkey is attracted to a grass in a natural way. When a human sees the grass, he wouldn't want to eat it because he's not a donkey. The consciousness is different. But what would a human think about people, position, possessions, and also maybe some vices also, which are basically some form of ego or attachments. That's the consciousness that a human being will have. So this is when we come, it's like this human. From human, then we have to, it's like this whole level is the shift from human to then spiritual consciousness. And we all understand that in spiritual consciousness, we are completely beyond this thoughts about people, position, possessions, vices, or anything material, kind of transcending that, because that's where the reality of the consciousness is metaphysical. So let's describe that as a spiritual being, let's say a soul. And a soul naturally, just like a pig naturally thinks about the things that he eats, a donkey thinks about the grass, a person, a human being thinks about these things. The soul naturally thinks about peace, love, and joy. This is the natural state of the existence of the soul. And the soul, in that spiritual consciousness, there is no attraction towards any of what human associates itself with. Just like a human doesn't have any pull towards grass, the soul wouldn't have any pull towards them, to the people, possessions, or vices. And so the journey to get rid of the vices and to become completely spiritual conscious is of operating from the soul consciousness, from that level of soul, being the soul. Now the interesting thing here, what it is if a pig or let's say a donkey wants to have a certain different level of consciousness, wants to experience what a human is experiencing, then it is difficult to experience and let go, when he is in donkey state of mind. In the same way, it's like in a human form. So if I make a spiritual effort thinking that I'm a human being, or I'm a human, then it becomes an effort of struggle. And often we feel that spiritual effort is not paying that dividend, so it's not resulting in the change that we want to see. So the idea here is to really have that jump where human is a separate consciousness and the soul. The souls are in a separate level altogether. And the more I make that shift within, that's why in spiritual consciousness, like, who am I? So this is where it all begins. Before this happens, everything else, if I, as a human, want to become more peaceful, more loving, more joyful, it is not that easy, because all the attachments will pull me and then there'll be a struggle. But internally, when I realize, now I am a soul, and then naturally I begin to operate from that consciousness. So this is how it's like the spiritual consciousness works. And then eventually, when we are in touch with that soul, we also get in touch with the divine. So we say, who am I? And then also we say, whose am I? So I belong to the divine. And that becomes the reality and the experience in a very natural way. And so then spiritual effort is no longer a struggle, but of enjoyment. Enjoyment. And so that's what spiritual consciousness is. It's like moving from the earth to the sky. Moving from the earth to the sky. We'll say above and beyond the earth. The last few days, this thought has been coming up. It's like what it feels to live in the sky. So I know how does it feel to live on the earth. How does it feel to live in the sky? To live in the sky. It's like I wake up in the sky. I go to bed in the sky. It's like every action, I live there and I descend here on the earth. And then it's like because the soul belongs to the sky. It's like last time we saw metaphysical, beyond space, beyond time. That's what the reality of consciousness is. So the soul actually belongs to the sky. So when I say I belong to the sky, then my life is more like a celebration, angelic celebration. So love, happiness, enjoyment. It's like just looking at everyone's specialities, my own speciality. It's like when we, this morning, we were hearing about 16 celestial degrees means like a full moon, means because the moon is in the sky. So when I am in the sky, I'm operating with that consciousness. So above and beyond. So this is our, to make it a reality and a real experience, always constant, easy, natural, is what the spiritual consciousness is all about. So the consciousness is here on one side, or let's say here, on down below is earth, up above the sky. So I choose to just look up. I look up. And so I am observing the sky. I'm observing the life of an angel, not the life of a human. The life of an angel, the mind of an angel, the thoughts of an angel. And so naturally then I experience that. So let us take just a moment and just experience and elevate right now. Maybe we're aware. So I'm aware of the physical energy, the energy that is in the physical, the body, the elements, wherever I'm sitting, the room, so the physical energy of the earth. And whilst being here, let me become aware of the reality, the spiritual reality of who I really am. And so I, the consciousness, become aware of the spiritual dimension, which is in the sky. In the sky, there is absolute peace, stillness, silence. There's nothing to obtain, there's nothing to do, it's just to be myself. This little tiny point of light. This is the spiritual reality, spiritual consciousness. And this is the reality of all of us. And here then there is no effort to experience peace, love, happiness, joy. It is a part of my being in a very natural way. So then let us begin the steps that will in a very practical way allow me to reach that experience all the time. So the journey begins first with acceptance. It's accepting. It's accepting. So I accept that I am a soul. I accept that my life is in the sky. I accept it. Because in the human existence, it's a different reality that I've experienced. So now I accept that the spiritual truth is metaphysical. I think last time we also looked at it, even the scientists, how they all describe the same thing, how consciousness is who we are. It's transcendent, it's metaphysical. So I accept. This is the first step, and it's very important. It's not just to accept intellectually, but to accept from my heart. This is what I feel. This is, I accept. I accept. And so without acceptance, the journey doesn't begin. So I first accept. It's like them getting enrollment in the spiritual university, acceptance. And the second, after acceptance, is, we'll say, understanding. Understanding. So I've accepted that, yeah, that makes complete sense, that much more than a human, much more than a visible reality, I'm invisible. The next level is I understand. I spend some time to understand and really convince myself and really understand the depths and the way it works. It's like how consciousness works, how spirituality works. It's like understanding. It's like when we go to a class, a school, then we understand the concepts, the laws. It's a spiritual laws, the laws of spirituality. We understand how my mind works. I understand how my intellect works. I understand how my sanskars or impressions get created. I understand how meditation works. I understand that this is the time to really transform myself. I have this understanding. I develop this understanding, which is very important to have. Because in understanding, then I take a step deeper. And so after understanding, this is accepting and understanding are the first two steps. And after that, the next step we say is very, very important. Step after that understanding is developed is what we say is experimenting. Experimenting means I've understood, just like in school, in a science class, I've understood the concept. And after that, the teacher will say, okay, go in the lab and perform experiments, do some experimentation to actually, see how it works in the real life. So I've understood, but then I experiment. I understood I am a soul, I am a spiritual consciousness. I understand how the energy of vibrations of just giving an exchange of love works. So then I experiment with it. Next day I go to my work. I look at my boss as a spiritual being. I talk to him as a spiritual being, not as a boss, the spiritual being. I talk to my colleague. I look at his specialities. Even within my family, I look at everyone's specialities in a conscious way. I choose not to engage in wasteful thinking. It's like experimenting. That's the next step that allows me to make the knowledge very meaningful and practical. Experiment. It's experiment in the lab of the mind. It's experiment. It's very interesting. And some experiments, just in science, they are successful, but some fail also. But the more I remember back in my school and college days, the experiments that failed, I would learn even more from them. So then we give ourselves permission to fail also. That's fine. That's how experiments happen. So sometimes it may work, sometimes it may not work. That's fine. But the main thing is, what is the lesson that I'm learning? And then this lesson is more than the understanding of the spiritual concept. This understanding is a very personal understanding that I'm now developing. And so once I have experimented with it, then the next step is I experience it. Experience it. So just based on understanding, I cannot experience it unless I've experimented. So I've experimented, and then I experience how it is actually working, how it actually works. The power of love, the power of good wishes, how it actually works, how it helps me to heal my relationships, heal my heart. And so as a college student, it's like the way I used to experiment and experience the power of meditation. That would be before it's like I have to, for example, we have to write a lot of papers and journals, etc. And then we'll just try and just make my mind completely empty and blank, and just sit in meditation and try and just go to that state of being. Then, as if then the thoughts automatically flow. That the feeling would be that it is all getting done. I'm not doing it, but thoughts are coming and I'm just writing them down. And so then I would experience the power of the divine energy and how it gets things done. How the mind completely is free of any thoughts of fear, anxiety, or many times those thoughts kind of waste the time. And so the time is not used in a productive way. Even in relationships, meeting in the office, or even in our personal connections, just connecting with each other in that way. So experience happens. And that experience in Hindi, the word is anubhav. And today in the morning, we're also listening about how there are, just to talk about the spiritual knowledge is good, but it won't transform. So the next step is I have to use it to experiment and then experience. And in it is called anubhav. So it's very important. And so after I have experienced this, how the spiritual consciousness works, how it transforms the way I live my life for a very beautiful reality, then the next step is I know it. Then I know. I know what it means to be conscious spiritual. I know what it means to experience true selfless unconditional love. I know what it means to experience the love of the divine. I know it because I've experienced it. I say, like sugar, for example. If I have to explain to someone what sugar is like, I say, okay, it is white in color. It has this size of a crystal, this much it weighs. I say, do you know it? So no, I don't. Okay, now taste it. So when I've tasted, I've experienced, then I know what sugar is like. So if you give me salt, I'll say, no, this is not sugar, this is salt. Although it may look similar. So I know it. So knowing actually develops wisdom. Just on the level of understanding, it's more information and knowledge. But then knowing develops wisdom. So then I know how to use spiritual understanding. At what time, in what way, because that's so important. So, initially I remember when I just came into, and I was so attracted, that any friend I would meet, I'll say, look, practice this is so good, practice this is so good. Yeah, but then I realized that that's not where they are. So I can't just impose myself on them. And then I realized the more I went to that level of just inner work and knowing, then I realized all that I have to do is to just be of, just to be a facilitator and to help in whatever way the divine energy flows. And then it's between them and the divine. I don't come into a picture at all. And so then I was able to develop this respect towards everyone, irrespective of whether they would believe in spirituality or not. Because that comes from the deep inner knowing or wisdom that actually we are all spiritual beings. So beautiful. Then it's like, then I'm very grounded form after I have known. And then after this is another quantum jump, which is about them becoming what I know. So one is to know, which is wisdom, I know. Means I have tasted spiritual consciousness. But then to become it, it's like, then I have to be ready to leave being a human. And I have to then take my support in being. This is where a lot of surrender and just this allowing the energy of this divine to guide me and to polish me, to modify. This happens, becoming. So I'm becoming. This is where then it's like the inner journey. It's like the inner transformation, which is mostly about just dropping the layers of ego and attachments of many, lifetimes that I have accrued on myself. So it's like becoming, I'm ready to peel them, become. It's inner work, inner work. So this is something which is completely invisible, incognito. Now, sometimes we hear words such as the spiritual effort is incognito, be seen, because this whole effort of becoming. And so this is, I have to just surrender myself to the divine. So just like, the person who is making a statue, he knows how to remove, he has tools, he removes, could be a little hammer here and there, but chisels away the unwanted stuff. And so I'm becoming that statue. And then there is a friendship at this stage, a deep friendship, drama of life. Let's say every situation, oh, it's a gift because it is helping me to mold myself. It's not a challenge anymore. On the level of understanding, or that level, it could still be a challenge because then I have to battle. But at this level, there's no battling. It's just okay. It's just helping me to become who I am. To become who I am. It's a beautiful journey, and the final step, as we know, is then being. I'm being myself unconditionally. It's like I'm just myself, without any egos, without any attachments linked to the human. And I'm just, and there's no expectation. There's nothing that the soul actually needs. Just like a human doesn't have any attachment to the grass that the donkey has. So a being doesn't naturally have any attachments then towards heroes like people, possession, and even attachments, vices, everything. So naturally I am there. There's no attachment. So there's no effort to get rid of attachments. It's like a pyramid, this journey. So and each step is, it leads to the other step in a very natural way. And so a good way to also look at it is in this way. And see, number 1 and number 2 is theory. So I understand. It's very important. Without theory, I cannot begin. And the next 3, experimenting, experiencing, knowing, is practical. So I practice practical. That allows me to develop my own personal realizations, personal experiences, wisdom, practical. And the top 2 is then the embodiment. So I embody it now. It's like taking an admission to become a doctor. So first I learn what medicine is, how everything works, I practical, and then eventually I become a doctor. And so this is, we call it spiritual college or university. So we enter as human beings and exit as being ourselves. So this consciousness, shift in consciousness. So these levels of consciousness. So a nice way to kind of also see this journey, we say 3 words. We say choose, change, and be. Choose, change, and be. Choose, theory, understanding. So it's like choice. So I have 2 paths, whether to operate from body consciousness, soul consciousness. I have to make a choice, which has to be based on reasoning, understanding, logic, which is so important. Also. And then change. So I use it to change in the process of change. And then I be. Choose, change, and be. A beautiful way to look at is, say C, C, B. So it says C for caterpillar, C for cocoon, and B for butterfly. So this is also linked to that, magical metamorphosis that we all know. And we have started, the other day I was noticing butterflies. And this is the springtime. So for butterflies, this is also the time of transition of the human consciousness, so that we become butterflies. We be who we are, spiritually aware in a very natural way. It's a caterpillar, butterfly. So let's watch this little clip which shares this beautiful journey that butterflies go through. And it will also allow us to appreciate this beautiful, magical transformational process that we're all on.
If you open the work of a lepidopterist, someone who studies butterflies, somewhere in that writing, you're going to find the language of astonishment.
Every one of these 20,000 species have different color patterns, and every one of them has different shaped wings. The diversity is just so magnificent.
As you watch a butterfly, to describe what you're looking at, you can't really put it into words. That's biology, it's also magic.
It's impossible to look at a caterpillar turning into a butterfly and not ask how. Their metamorphosis, their life cycle, how did this happen? This astonishing, remarkable transformation.
In a metamorphic insect, what you've got is two body plans. You have to first form one functional body plan, and then you have to switch gears and you have to take and form a new body plan. I am amazed by development when it goes from egg to caterpillar, because it's such an intricate process. But then you have to enter into the chrysalis stage and you have to get it right again. So it's like the problem squared.
You've got to get rid of or digest the caterpillar tissues. They won't work for the adult. In fact, the cells themselves disappear, but then their components are recycled and are turned into a kind of soup out of which the adult structures will be built. It's very carefully engineered. So you got to know where you're going to end up before you start.
It's like a different organism. Transitions have to take place in the heart. Transitions have to take place in the antennae. Transitions have to take place in the reproductive organs.
You have to recreate adult legs, adult antennae, adult eyes. You have to change the shape of the brain and the connections between the antennae and the eyes. You have to reformat the gut so that it switches from eating plant material to eating nectar. You begin to see the depths of the problem. So for evolution to have created this sort of pathway gradually, it would take a miracle.
When you see certain effects in nature, it's your responsibility as an investigator to find the cause that will explain the effect. If you saw a mechanical device of the sophistication of a butterfly, you would not for a moment hesitate to ascribe that to intelligence, because the butterfly is so much more sophisticated, almost beyond our comprehension, than anything that we make. Planning, foresight, artistry, engineering. When you process all the evidence revealed through metamorphosis, and then you ask yourself, in your own experience, what kind of cause could bring about these results? I think the only reasonable answer is an intelligence that transcends the natural world.
I really love this whole this metamorphosis and how this butterflies are created. It's a magical and wonderful process. And the same is with the consciousness as well. It's like death is a pathway to life. Death meaning it's like I am able to or willing to let go of the old. And this is so important in spiritual, this advancement. Just, I don't take any step to be permanent, because if I take, then my growth will stop. So I take one step and then I'm also willing to let go, and then move on to the other. A lot of trust is needed in this process. And it happens on its own. This is the beauty, the wonder. And we all have this support of the divine energy with us. So this is a little piece of a little story that has allowed me to actually change my consciousness in a very profound way. And so thought was just to maybe discuss it a little bit. This is from where a caterpillar, is going into the chrysalis stage. So just like, where we said the theory is caterpillar with the stage, and then the practical is the chrysalis cocoon stage in silence. So in the caterpillar stage, then understanding knowledge means a lot of churning and everything is needed, because that's how caterpillar will eat in order to grow. And after that is the silence in the chrysalis, where the old is melted away and the new is emerged from within. That's how it happens as well in the consciousness. The old layers are peeled off and the new emerges from within. It eventually becomes a butterfly. So this is a caterpillar looking at a chrysalis. One day, a gray-haired caterpillar hanging upside down in a branch surprised her. He seemed caught in some hairy stuff. "You seem in trouble," she said. "Can I help?" So this yellow is the she, and this is the he. "No, my dear, I have to do this to become a butterfly." Her whole inside leapt. Butterfly, that word, she thought. "Tell me, sir, what is a butterfly?" "It's what you're meant to become. It flies with beautiful wings and joins the earth to heaven. It drinks only nectar from the flowers and carries the seeds of love from one flower to another. Without butterflies, the world would soon have few flowers." That's what the Cocoon said. "It can't be true," gasped Yellow. "How can I believe there is a butterfly inside you or me when all I see is a fuzzy worm?" And so there are similar thoughts. And all I see are, these vices or wasteful thoughts or attachments or egos. So how can I believe that my real true existence is like that, and that reality is that? "How does one become a butterfly?" she asked pensively. This is where it just made a lot of sense. It said, the cocoon, that you must want to fly so much that you're willing to give up being a caterpillar. You must want to fly so much. This living in the sky, the world beyond, the flight. You must want to fly so much that you're willing to give up being a caterpillar or operating from a human consciousness. "You mean to die?" asked Yellow. Yellow is the name of the caterpillar. Remembering the three who fell out of the sky, it's a part of some story. Yes and no, he answered. What looks like you will die, but what's really is that you will still live. Life is changed, not taken away. Isn't that different from those who die without ever becoming butterflies? So that's what the yellow asked. But this cocoon said, no, it's not about dying and losing my existence, but it's about transforming to a very beautiful new reality. And if I decide to become a butterfly, said yellow hesitantly, what do I do? What do I do to become a butterfly? And he said, just watch me. I'm making a cocoon. It looks like I'm hiding, I know, but cocoon is no escape. It's an in-between house where the change takes place. It's a big step since you can never return to caterpillar life. So I understand that I'm just kind of letting go. So then I am renouncing. I'm renouncing that just like from a donkey to a human, a donkey has to renounce, a human has to renounce. During the change, it will seem to you or to anyone who might read that nothing is happening, but the butterfly is already becoming. It just takes time. It's already become. So then it naturally happens. Consciousness naturally makes that transition, that shift. So the key here is to be able to have that courage to let go. To let go. Which in other words, we also call as, now the word is renunciation. So if we look at the journey from the step 1 to step 7, this level is gross renunciation. So I make a jump from understanding to experimenting when I'm ready to renounce. For example, if I have to be ready to experiment with, what it means to, let's say, give time to experience this consciousness, then I need to also renounce my time that I may be spending in a not so productive way. So it's like in a gross level, changing some physical habits. That is important. That is a gross renunciation. But then there's another, I think this step, we all are pretty much there, and we all can relate to it, like what it takes to develop kind of a little spiritual lifestyle. And then this like transition from knowing to becoming, it takes a subtle renunciation. Subtle renunciation is like renouncing the renunciation. So this is the stage where I renounce the ego of having renounced something, because that kind of then plateaus the journey. When I become content in just knowing and not be, and I just feel, okay, I know everything, so that's what there is, and I can maybe share it to others, and that's where the end is. No, but that's where I still have to, this subtle renunciation happens. And the subtle renunciation, I have to be able to let go of that. We say that subtle ego, the subtle attachments, to actually having renounced something. And then I go to the step of becoming. And this is where, like the game changes. Game changes. So another way we describe this is, we say, so here from the human consciousness, we are trying to become more spiritual consciousness, spiritually aware. And then in here, we are actually, we are able to experience the spiritual consciousness. So here, but here, it's like we are a spiritual consciousness and we're just observing the game of life. So our frame of reference has shifted. We've moved up. As if then there are wings, we could fly. It's a beautiful metaphor to understand how nature takes shape. And so here, before accepting, it's like a good way to describe the stage is we don't know that we don't know. We don't know that we don't know, the unconscious. But after the first step, it's like choosing. We know that we don't know. We know that we don't. So now I become aware. So even if I'm operating from anger, but I know that that's not my state of mind. So at least I'm aware. And then from here, we know how love operates. So we know. And here we are. So these are the different steps. It just allows me to, understand from a larger perspective. And so this journey at every step comprises of this, at every step. So my whole attention is on the step that I'm on. And that is very important. So if I accept, I have to accept properly. If I understand, I have to understand properly. Then only I'll advance to the next stage. And so in order to advance to the next stage, I have to do properly. I have to trust the process. And then once the time comes, then I have to let go. And let go is more like a promotion. Just like from standard 3, I move to standard 4, standard 5. Like that. And so I let go and then let God. So God allows me, becomes a backbone of my spiritual growth. So this 3-step process: trusting, letting go, and letting go. I have trust in this divine plan. I let go, willing, just like the caterpillar, and let God. And so that's just the life of being. Just the 7th life of being. I know, I experience, I am. A little star. Consciousness. Conscious of my spiritual reality as a little star. A star of peace, a star of love, a star of happiness, wisdom. And I know that my time on this physical world is land. So I have the attitude of a guest here in a very easy, natural way. So I still have people, possessions, money, everything. But then I have an attitude of a guest. So no attachments. And then I enjoy them. Like today we were discussing this exchange, this bargain, which means that when I have become fully conscious, then whatever I use then is like a trustee. And it's a gift from the divine. And there's a lot more happiness and abundance that flows in that experience. So let us just take a few moments to again experience that being, spiritual consciousness. So we're just aware, in a very natural way, of us being this tiny little star. A star that has no physical shape. It's just a tiny beam of light, conscient energy. I know that I live in the sky. My world is a world of peace. An entire family of stars, the divine. This is our reality. And the physical story, the life of earth down below, is a game that is being played. And when I enter the stage, I have this consciousness and I enjoy every scene. And so I experience the mind as a butterfly, being. It is nothing to do, just to be myself. Unconditional. Shanti.
Om Shanti, Saurabai.
Om Shanti. Shanti. Thank you, all the angels, and please feel free to share your inspirations, thoughts.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, Kamalbhai.
And very nice, very nicely put together. You said in the beginning that it is a continuous journey and it's a continuous process. Yet there are, if we take some discrete steps that help us to go on this journey on a continuous transformation. It's a continuous transformation, basically. And, these discrete steps help us to move on onto these different stages and then finally get to where we want to be. So I think the first step, the acceptance is just like, as you said, it's the theory, that's the most important fundamental thing, that if the theoretical base is strong, you can build on that, the understanding, and then the experimentations that you do perform will yield results in, which will be easy to accept. And then continuing on, we can, if the theory our the foundation is strong, then we can experience, we can have the good anubhav in life, and then it will be easy to recognize or easy to know that what we are becoming, we are letting go of ego, and then of course reaching the final step of being. So it's a continuous process, continuous thing, but yet we have defined it very nicely in 7 discrete steps. And we want to trust in these, like, first 3 or 4 steps, and then finally let go and let God. So very nicely put together, and we'll try our best to go from step by step, and and not be afraid of death, because death is a pathway to life.
Beautiful.
Shanti, thank you.
Thank you. You've summarized it in a very beautiful way. Thank you so much.
Om Shanti, Saurabai.
Om Shanti, Sister Jane.
Well, you brought us to a fairyland. Really, we as parents, we have read books to our kids, and you have done it today. Very, very nice presentation. Every day I see a butterfly in my small garden.
Really? How beautiful.
Yes. different colors. Now I'm going to be very attentive. And I will say every time I see one now, I will say that God has visited me. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Jenna. And sometime we should see those butterflies. If you have a clip, or if you'd like to show us, that would be really nice as well.
You just come one, only one. Yeah, I see. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Sister Jenna. Thank you for joining us. Yes.
It's already off.
Om Shanti, brother.
Om Shanti, Sarojini.
Yeah, you gave us very powerful 7 steps to switch from human consciousness to spiritual consciousness. And you explained very well that each step we have to take with very, very stable footage. That we have to understand each step, then only we can go to further. So that is also important. And I like it very much, the way you show the caterpillar, cocoon, and butterfly. I think this is God's way. This is God's miracle, but this is God's way to tell us that we human being can become spiritual being. And the middle stage is cocoon. And cocoon is like isolation, silent, and meditation, and let go of ego, our thinking, and just trust God. Let go of everything and trust God, and then God will transfer us into spiritual being. We don't have to do anything about it. Once we let go of everything, what we know, or what we hold, our body, mind, relations, our possessions, everything. So that is middle stage. Cocoon is very important for transformation of human consciousness to spiritual consciousness. And I think nowadays, since last year, God is providing that cocoon stage to us. So we can churn on whatever we know without any outside influence.
Very nice. Very
Thank
nice.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, family.
Yeah.
Om Shanti.
This time is a cocoon for us too.
Cocoon for us. If we use it. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Other inspirations.
Om Shanti, Saradai.
Om Shanti.
Beautiful, powerful, very important, very important to know where we stand when we are in this journey. So you have put it really beautifully together. So 7 steps, first 2 steps we say like theory. This is very, very, very important, because if we don't accept, then we will not go even understanding. We accept, and then we want to understand it. So if we are just if we cannot accept this knowledge that I am a soul, then we are there. We cannot even try to understand. So that's very important. And then other part is a practical knowledge. So that's a theory, and then we go as a practical experimenting in the mind of lab. And then once we experiment, then we start experiencing, which is called anubhav. Then we start this knowledge, apply it in our life. And then whatever we understand from there is called knowing, which is wisdom. So then this is like a practical knowledge. And here we will be renunciating the gross renunciation. And then we become, that is a becoming, and the being is the embodiment. And here there is a real inner transformation happens, and then surrendering, it becomes very easy. renunciation become very easy. We don't even think that we are renunciating. We call it tyag ka bhi tyag. Then finally is a being. So when we look at the butterflies, how butterfly become, it's like a death is a pathway of life. So when we are in spiritual journey, it's like first we have to die and then we live. It's like a marjiva. We are born in this same body. So that's our main aim. And when we are in the butterfly stage, that's our new life. And for in this journey, the most important step you said is like we need to trust each and every step and then let go. And then after that, God will be our backbone for our spiritual growth. Thank you, Saurabai. Thank you so much. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Kusumba. Beautiful the way you explained it. Very nice. It's Marjiva. So first death and then we experience life.
That's what I think my life is after starting the spiritual journey. I always feel like before my Gyan, that's my past birth. That's what I feel like. Yeah.
Very nice. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Shanti. Thank you, Saurabai. Beautiful subject you chose and explained it so well. बहुत अच्छे से आपने समझाया. And I was really amazed to hear Saroj Bhan, how well she understood that. And just imagine अगर इनको आपने सृष्टि चक्र समझा दिया Saurabai 7-day का course है. She got it so well. And हम सब समझ ही रहे हैं. And I just keep thinking how Baba keeps saying in Murli's Jeete Ji Marna, die alive. And that's what caterpillar to butterfly, like cocoon से जब वो कैसे butterfly बनती हैं, एक एक रंग मर रही है और एक एक नई जी रही है, तो जीते जी मरना जैसे we are leaving all the old sanskar behind and achieving the new one that with through this knowledge. And I really like it, and you explained it so well. Thank you so much, Saurabai. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Saurabai, once again for explaining so beautifully and trying to make it simple for us to understand. Thank you for explaining the 7 steps that will lead us to spiritual consciousness and transform us to a being. The example of the metamorphosis of a caterpillar into a butterfly, in which the cocoon stage is where the transformation into the butterfly actually takes place. Similarly, for us on the spiritual journey, the caterpillar eats. So just as we churn and grow, learn more and more, get gyan, more and more of it. And then it's the cocoon stage where the transformer is going to, and in spirituality, it is going into silence, letting go of ego, attachments, and that will transform into a being in which the divine will help. So once we're a being, we get into that consciousness, then we know that this physical world is just like a story where I'm but a trustee. And it's very beautifully explained. Thank you, Saurabai, once again. Om Shanti.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Om Shanti, Saurabai. I didn't mean pointing out a Saroj man like this, but I was kind of amazed. And
yeah,
I know.
we are definitely Saroj Bhan coming back.
Yeah, and then when I started the program, and she was also talking about it and how eager she is to, like connecting and then telling the kids not to call at this time and all that. So I was just very impressed. And I know we have a really good speaker, like how well our new new additions like Sangeeta Bhan and our Kusum Bhan, and they are just like flying. I am really, really happy to see that.
They're already
Thank
butterflies.
you. Yes, yes, they are already being.
Yeah,
Okay.
beautiful.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sarabhai. Om Shanti.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. We all are sharing God-given knowledge and Brother Soros' explanation. So we all are learning from each other. Thank you very much. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Kiran Ben. We're all together in this journey, and Saurabh is guiding us through it. So we owe a lot to him also. Thank you so much. Om Shanti.
You're all guiding me. That's the reality.
That's being very, very humble, Saurabh. We're learning so much from you. Thank you so much.
It's just like the cocoon is talking to yellow. We are yellow and you are cocoon already, so guiding us.
I'm trying to just be in the moment. Yeah, whatever Baba inspires. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Om Shanti, Saurabh.
Om Shanti, Purnima.
Thank you for the nice session. Thank you for explaining 7 spiritual steps so nicely, spiritual consciousness steps so nicely. Now, my next step will be like, I have to focus on my current step just to be myself with a deep intention of reaching my aim. That is like for every step I have to trust, let go of this body consciousness and to be in soul consciousness, always connecting with God. Yeah, that's the really a big aim, but yeah, that's the journey what we are doing. So that will be the aim. Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you for explaining so nicely.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, it's very nice. Like every step is what I can really focus on. If I don't focus on this step, then really I don't move forward. And so the only way to move forward is just to focus on this step and enjoy this step a lot. And then that's what it's like, a journey. So I enjoy this step, then the next step, the next step. So, thank you.
Hi.
Hi, Cheng. How are you?
Yeah, thank you for your nice presentation about 7 steps to reach consciousness. I think it's very helpful, and this also is for us to transform from the low level of thinker or emotional thinker to the high level thinker or critical thinker. That's very important. So thank you so much for your information.
Thank you, Chengbing. Yeah, very nice. You said emotional thinking to really, higher level critical thinking. Very nice. Thank you. Any other inspirations? So Joy, would you like to share your thoughts also?
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Oh, we can see you now. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. I actually was in the process of trying to get this light cover on this light switch. They're finding the screws aren't matching up. But it's coming along. I'm going to be done soon. Well, the only thing, well, first of all, I want to say thank you again, for putting things together in such a simple, easily understood manner, so that we can use it as a practical guide to for our lives and becoming what we have in our minds that we want to become, whatever that is. One of the most important things I think I took from this talk on transformation was when the guy said, you've got to know where you're going. You've got to know where you're going to end up, which means you have to have in your mind, I had to have the goal, what I wanted to achieve to begin my spiritual journey. And what that was for me was I just wanted inner peace. That's what I wanted. I need to sit down because I've been standing up trying to get the screws in there crooked. So what I'm realizing that whatever it is in our mind that we have that we want to be, it has to be really wouldn't it be one of the attainments or one of the virtues? That's what I kind of realized. That's a realization that I had while you were speaking. If I want a lot of money, no, I'd like to be financial. Well, I mean, spiritual wealth versus the money or finance. So for me, it was that inner peace, and I had that after 2017. But then now, what I realized in your chart, steps 6 and 7, the knowing and becoming. The knowing again, it's the knowing. It's in our divine intellect. When we have a divine intellect, a knowing that we're right where we're supposed to be, doing what we're supposed to do. But that last level, the 7th, that just being, that it just happens. It just happens once we have that divine intellect and we're completely connected. So we don't have anything to do with that being the embodiment. It's just really all the 6 steps beforehand. And also I was thinking while you're giving this really simple, explanation these days, it's just amazing how we have the graphics now to help us to understand exactly what's happening on the inner world, in our inner world. Because it's not like, 30 years ago, I wasn't hearing messages on transformation, from the minister up there talking transformation like a butterfly. But that was it. Like, the graphics allow us to really have a visual what's happening on the inside. And then of course, there's no one ever like you, that you take it to the deepest, another level to totally understand that. So, what I want to say is that it's got to be a lot easier now. 30 years of I went through a transformation was a struggle, but it doesn't have to be a struggle because we can understand it now. And also in the Brahma Kumaris, we actually see walking, talking examples that this is possible. So, yes. Yeah. Thank you, Brother.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Joy. Beautiful sharings and the way you explained. Yeah, very nice. Thank you. Appreciate it. Any thoughts from Sister Lute, John, Heather, Pushika Ben, Ripesh Bhai, Krishna Bhai, Aditi Ben? Any final thoughts? Rajesh Ben, Naresh Bhai? Any final thoughts you would like to add? Om Shanti. का माइक शायद म्यूट पे होगा राजेश पे.
Om Shanti.
हाँ, now we can hear. Om Shanti.
काफी अच्छा था, सिंपल लैंग्वेज में. और ये जो था मतलब ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन है, कि जैसे ये था कि नॉलेज मतलब चूज करना है, तो जब हमको पता होगा क्या ऑप्शंस है तभी हम चूज कर पाएंगे, और फिर हम उसमें मतलब अपने आप को इंट्रोवर्ट कर लेंगे अपने आप को अंदर में, और फिर हम बटरफ्लाई मतलब एंजल बन पाएंगे कि मतलब ये जितना जो फिजिकल वर्ल्ड है, जो 5 एलिमेंट्स से जो हम बंधे हुए हैं, 5 एलिमेंट्स हैं, 5 वाइसेस हैं, तो वो हमको मतलब भारी बना देते हैं, और तो भारी हो जाते हैं तो हम एक कीड़े की तरह से रेंगते रहते हैं, बस अच्छी तरह चल भी नहीं सकते कई बार। तो पहले हमको हो जाए, और जब थोड़ा सा ये नॉलेज हो जाती है जब, तो फिर इंट्रोवर्ट अंतर्मुखी होके इंट्रोवर्ट बन के फिर हम अपने आप को सेल्फ एनालिसिस करते हैं, और फिर सेल्फ एनालिसिस के बाद में उसको मतलब नॉलेज लेंगे, फिर एक्सपीरियंस करेंगे, और फिर उसको अपने साथ एक्सपेरिमेंट करेंगे, और फिर जब ये हो जाएगा तो फिर अपने आप को जब हम इन जो वाइसेस हैं और जो 5 एलिमेंट्स हैं इनसे हल्के हो जाएंगे, इनसे डिटैच हो जाएंगे, तो फिर एंजल बन जाएंगे, और एंजल बन के फिर हल्के हो जाएंगे कि कोई भी सब कुछ वही रहेगा, लेकिन वो हमको खींचेगा नहीं अपनी तरफ, कि वो चीज़ हमको खींचती है इसलिए वो हमको आगे नहीं बढ़ने देती। और जो 3 स्टेप्स बताए थे कि ट्रस्ट, जैसे अगर हम लौकिक कहीं वैसे भी अगर चलते हैं, तो अगर हम एक पैर अपना आगे सीढ़ी पर रखेंगे, तो अगर जब तक हमको विश्वास नहीं कि वो सीढ़ी हमारे पैर रखने से कहीं गिर तो नहीं जाएगी, कि सीढ़ी उतना ताकत है कि नहीं हमारा वेट ले पाएगी, या कहीं उसमें उसका कुछ नट बोल्ट तो टूटा हुआ नहीं है, तो जब तक विश्वास नहीं होता तो आगे उस पर पैर नहीं रखेंगे। और जब पैर रखने से पहले क्या है कि पहली सीढ़ी से पैर हटाना पड़ेगा, जब तक पहली सीढ़ी से पैर नहीं हटाएंगे तो अगली सीढ़ी पर हम आगे बढ़ भी नहीं आएंगे। तो पहले तो हम विश्वास रहे कि हाँ तो सीढ़ी चढ़ रहे हैं, वो सीढ़ी मजबूत है, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, हमारे वेट भी ले लेगी, सब मतलब फिट है वो। तो नीचे वाली सीढ़ी से हम पैर हटाएंगे तो अगली सीढ़ी पर जाएंगे। उसी तरह से स्पिरिचुअल में कि जब तक हम नीची चीजों को नहीं छोड़े तब तक नहीं जा रहे। तो जो हायर लेवल है ये जो बीइंग का, तब तक हम बीइंग नहीं हो पाए।
Very nice. Very nice. I think we have to make sure that now we are in balanced position, and the next step we take is stable, and then we are able to let go, and then that's how we move forward. Finally become an angel. Very nice. Thank you. Nice.
ओम शांति।
Om Shanti.
सौरभ भाई।
Om Shanti.
ओम शांति। सेशन काफी अच्छा था, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा कि उसको स्टेप बाय स्टेप अगर हम उसको अंडरस्टैंड कर पाते हैं तो आगे की सीढ़ी पे चढ़ना इजी है। कई बार हम जानते हैं लेकिन मानते नहीं हैं, बाबा जी कहते हैं तो जान लेना, एक्सेप्ट कर लेना कि मैं हूँ क्या और मुझे क्या बनना है। तो एक्सेप्टिंग ये अच्छा लगा, फिर अंडरस्टैंडिंग, एक्सपेरिमेंटिंग, है ना, एक्सपीरियंसिंग, उसको अनुभव करना, फिर जानना, नोइंग, फिर बिकमिंग और बीइंग, हम तब बन जाते हैं। लेकिन कई बार होता है हम जानते हैं लेकिन फिर मानते नहीं हैं और उसके लिए पुरुषार्थ नहीं होता है। तो जब ये बातें हमारी बुद्धि में होंगी तभी हम आगे पुरुषार्थ कर पाएंगे और बन जाएंगे। तो उसके लिए जो बताया कि ट्रस्ट, लेट गो और लेट गॉड, है ना, कि जब तक फेथ नहीं है तब तक हम लेट गो नहीं कर पाते हैं और तब तक हम गॉड पर भी नहीं छोड़ पाते। तो जब इस प्रकार से जब ट्रस्ट होगा कि वो है, वो करेगा, तो जब हम लेट गॉड कर देंगे तब हम इसी तरीके से स्टेप बाय स्टेप आगे बढ़ते चले जाएंगे। तो ये बड़ा सुंदर सेशन था आज का। सो थैंक यू वेरी मच। थैंक यू बाबा। थैंक यू परमात्मा। थैंक यू सर।
Very nice. Right. Shah, any final thoughts anyone would like to add?
ओम शांति सौरभ भाई, बच्चों ने छोटे होते ये सारे एक्सपेरिमेंट किए हैं, तब उस टाइम इतना रिलेट नहीं किया जैसे आज आपने। So now Maya or Talia, they are also doing the same thing. So once the cocoons turn into butterfly, I'll take pictures, I'll make a video, and I'll bring it to you.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Your granddaughters?
Yes,
Oh wow.
Maya and
Nice.
Talia.
Acha. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
that would be great.
yes, our kids also did. They do in school, but उस time ऐसे relate नहीं कर पाए जैसे आपने बताया ना. That was very nice.
Thank you.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti Saurabhai.
Om Shanti, Rupesh Bhai.
Thank you for your excellent presentation, as always. Very nice slides, and all those steps were very relevant, right? So I think the base of the pyramid, those are the 2 steps, I think, which probably is the most important. Now, once we can go beyond that, then probably it will be much easier for everyone. So I think, like what you said about realization and knowledge, they're the most important thing, and they're the foundation. And once we have those foundations, then our journey in this spirituality will be much more easier. And hopefully, like at one point of time, I'll be able to reach that on the top of the pyramid.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you, Bhai. I was also amazed, like sometimes I ask myself, okay, am I experiencing? If the answer is no, then I ask, am I experimenting correctly? Then I know, okay, if I'm not experiencing, maybe I have not experimented it. And if I'm not able to experiment, then maybe I've not understood it. So let me then spend time with, understanding. If I'm not able to understand, have I accepted it? So that makes me, then I know where to kind of focus my energy on. So then there's no kind of disheartenment, but I know where to focus my energy so that I can, then go accordingly.
Thank you, Saurabhai.
Thank you, Baba. Thank you, family. Have a few blessings for everyone. Sister Joy, God's love molds you into a beautiful soul who can elevate the ordinary to the extraordinary with the power of peace.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Om Shanti.
Sister Lute, God's love gives you the tolerance to see behind the masks and beneath the fears to the beautiful light in every heart. Thank you. Saroj Ben, God's love molds your heart into a space of dignity that can hold a respect for truth, an appreciation of life, and the utmost regard for others.
Oh, very beautiful. Thank you, brother.
Thank
you. Om Shanti.
Kamal Bhai, God's love nurtures your deeply non-violent nature, which is so serene that it can cool a peaceless mind and melt a frozen heart, all without leaving a trace. So beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Om Shanti. Thank you very much. Om Shanti.
Shanti. Kiran Ben, through the experience of God's love, the power of peace that beats in your heart becomes your greatest gift to the world. Very true.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Kishore Bhai, God's love fills your heart to overflowing with a spiritual dignity that can heal the deepest wound and touch the coldest heart. So true. Very nice.
Thank you, Saurabhai. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Kusum Ben, God's love enables your head and heart to exemplify non-violence, working together harmoniously such that you can honor your dreams while working with reality. Oh, nice.
Thank you, Saurabhai. Om Shanti.
Shanti. Rupesh Bhai, in God's love, you learn to protect your peace through lightness of mind, generosity of spirit, and unwavering love for truth.
Thank you, Saurabhai.
Thank you. And our angel Kushal, God's love creates within you a level of tolerance and compassion that can nurture the seed of what is right and transform the root of what is wrong.
Thank you, Saurabh. He's not here now. Thank you.
Purnima Ben, God's love polishes you into a precious jewel whose heart shines with a commitment to honor the dignity of others through the lens of your deepest values.
Thank you, Saurabh Bhai.
And to Divakar Bhai and kids, through God's love, learn the language of the heart, enabling you to speak with sincerity and listen non-violently.
Thank you, Saurabh Bhai.
Thank you. And, Pushika Ben, God's love fills you with a peace that can change thoughts of despair into wings of hope and melt stone hearts into oceans of love.
Oh, beautiful.
So true.
Thank you, Saurabh Bhai.
Thank you.
Please take in spot.
How are you, Subhash Bhai? So good to hear your voice.
Thank you.
Yeah. This for Subhash Bhai, God's love empowers you to give regard to everyone's ideas, which forms the basis of creating a world where all that rules is dignity.
Very nice.
Thank you, Saurabh Bhai.
Thank you, Subhash
Very
Bhai.
nice.
Krishna, God's love molds you into a living lamp, such that you can provide guidance and hope to the world simply by remaining stable in feelings of peace. Beautiful. Thank you, Krishna. And Aditi Behan, God's love fills your heart with feelings of tolerance and kindness, enabling you to overlook all that weakens and appreciate all that empowers. Thank you, Aditi Ben. And Nita Ben, God's love reinforces your capacity to uphold the path of non-violence, freeing you to cut through the webs of confusion and restore peace in the mind. So nice.
Thank you. Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you, Saurabh Bhai.
And Virinder Bhai, in the light of God's love, you developed a depth of contentment in which friendships flourish, pure thoughts take root, and dignity rules.
Oh, very nice. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Rajesh Ben, God's love awakens within you a genuine feeling of kindness that finds expression in quiet acts of non-violence. Thank you, Rajesh Ben.
Very nice.
And Naresh Bhai, God's love fills you with the power of tolerance, encouraging positive outcomes and elevated solutions to take root wherever you go.
सौरभ भाई दोनों सेंड कर दीजिए प्लीज.
हाँ, मैं भेजता हूँ जरूर.
Thank you, Saurabh Bhai.
जी, I'll send it. Thank you. So thank you, Baba. Thank you.
And one for Saurabh Bhai, please.
Sure.
One for Saurabh Bhai.
God's love restores the power of purity in your golden heart, enabling you to awaken others to the brilliance of their own dignity.
Very nice and very true. Thank you.
Very
Thank
true.
you, Baba.
Very true.
Thank you, Baba. And thank you all the angels for your time, presence, sharings. Have a blessed day and a good night with Baba.
Thank
you, brother.
Thank you and same to you. Thank you.
Om Shanti. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Saurabh Bhai.
Thank you
Shanti.
so much. So, बच्चे हैं सुभाष भाई, you're doing well?
Yeah, I'm doing okay.